everyone. My name is Frank, and I'm a Christian conservative. I wanted to start the video out like that because for me, sometimes when I feel like the world wants me to feel that way, almost like I need to be in a 12-step program to get rid of the Christian conservatism that I have. Um, and I link that together, Christian conservatism, for the point of this video. Um, I think statistically, m- most Christians are conservative. I'm not positive about what the numbers are, but more than 50%. And, my opinion would be that makes a lot of sense. I'm not one to argue that a majorative opinion necessitates a correct opinion, but in this case, I think it's accurate. Um, the biblical worldview should naturally correspond with a conservative viewpoint politically in our country. So, when you get into this kind of subject, you go, what do you do when you have Christians um, that are Democrat? They're left wing, progressive types, and I'm talking about Christians that you don't question their walk, right? I'm talking about people you don't go, I wonder if they're a Christian. No, you go, they're a Christian. They're you don't question it, that part of it, but you don't wonder why they have a viewpoint that spins to the left, and whereas I have a viewpoint that spins to the right, and for me, I can't see it going the other way. So it's this weird. I don't know if oxymoron works right here, but it doesn't quite fit this idea that Christians would be on the left, that would be totally progressive. And I think I understand why it is, but um, and I'll get into that and I'll explain why that. Although that's my best guess, I'll explain why I don't think that quite works. But that's all I've got. Um, I'll start the video, or start my opinion, I guess, by saying the main reason um, that you shouldn't be on the left if you're a Christian. Before I do that, though, I'm just going to say I'm not dealing with same sex, trans, sexual identity stuff because, for one, um, that's a complex. Oh, that's a complex subject matter. Not just complex, but it requires a more nuanced answer that I just don't want to spend the time giving, especially since it's not germane to this point. Because if I, if the Democrats took on my position, it wouldn't make a difference. I still wouldn't vote Democrat, and so I'll get to the reason why, and that's abortion. I'm sure you probably guessed that right off the bat. The number one issue is abortion. And I don't think you should be a one issue voter. I don't think that's sensible in most cases. But for this issue, I think it's very difficult to get around because of all the tangent points that come off of it. Um, when you're, what are we talking about? We're talking about political stuff here. We're talking about governmental power. And when people want to run and when they run for office, what they're saying to us as citizens is they're saying, I want the responsibility and I'm up to it morally. You know, I can be trusted to have your best interest because we have a representative republic. At least that's what we're supposed to have, right? So we're electing these individuals that we trust to go on our behalf, up to deal with the people's business, right? Um, I don't know how you get over the idea that they're for killing babies. And I know, this gets um, grayed out, right? We want to talk about, I mean, both sides Um, you know, the anti-abortion side, they call themselves pro-life to accentuate the life as opposed to death, and the other side says pro-choice. So I know that that side tries to take and spin it in a different way, and they'll the health options and women's choice and this sort of like pro-woman scenario. It just doesn't work though. I mean, it. The problem that I have with it is it doesn't take much just thinking about it to really figure out that it doesn't work. So for me, I'm a man. I'm so conservative, and I'm so Christian in to be to to be worthy of ridicule by the world. Some of the positions that I hold, I don't put my faith in science. I'm very dubious about what men can and do with science and in the name of science. I don't. I think there's a lot of things that we just don't understand as humans, and but we pass it off as if we do understand. Um, but I think procreation is something that we do understand, and I say that because as somebody who holds an unorthodox position in regards to how the world sees science, um, one of the things that might be labeled my direction is a science denier. I might be called a science denier. Well, if you're pro abortion and you're trying to claim that you're not killing a child, you're the science denier. I mean, that's the basics of biology. Procreation, biology. I mean, this is pick up a textbook and it'll tell you right there what happens, how it works, everything. We don't even need the textbook, do we? We know how this works. We know what happens. We know how babies get here. I mean, this idea that it's not a baby, I mean, the idea of this arbitrary time frame, even it's ridiculous to even think that we can figure this. That somehow there's this magical point where now it's a life. And I'm not saying I can define for you exactly when it is. I'm saying you can't enough to justify killing. That's what I'm saying. And so it's a non-starter for me. Abortion's a non-starter because if you're pro-abortion, I can't trust you anyway. And if you're a Christian, I just don't know how you get around it. I really don't. I don't know how you get around that. I mean, you can say, well, tough times with women and rape and this sort of stuff. And I mean, even if you go the rape route, um, where are the prosecutions for the rapists? You ever notice that nobody? Why is nobody asking these questions? You can't use rape as an excuse for justifying abortion, and then never go after the rapist, right? I mean, how am I not hearing everybody talk about this? Where's Planned Parenthood's list? You go into the post office, they've got missing people, FBI's most wanted, this sort of thing. Where's Planned Parenthood's list of descriptions of these rapists? Why aren't they out helping cops find these rapists, right? This never happens. Never happens. So stop it with the rape stuff. Stop it. You might be able to argue the slim chance that there's a health issue where it's the mom's life or the child. Okay, I might be able to see that. This world is it's a fallen world. We've got a lot of things going on. I'm not going to fault anybody who has to make that decision. It's an arduous, ridiculous scenario to even contemplate. Nobody would want that on themselves. So I'm not even saying that that's in the same ballpark, but that can be done in a hospital. You don't need clinics that are taxpayer funded clinics. They shouldn't even be open. That shouldn't, I mean, the idea that there's a place that does just that, and let's stop with this stuff like mammograms. We all know that's lies. Again, not very Christian when they're lying, right? That's not Christian fruit. So, to kill children, they're covering up lies, lying about science, lying about, um, just what they do in general, like what they're actually about. Also, come on, we all know at this point with the internet, we know who Margaret Sanger is, or you should, what she stood for, that she was a racist. part of the Klan and started Planned Parenthood with the expressed agenda to try to exterminate blacks because she thought they were lesser than whites. So again, what are we doing here? What? And it's one thing, I get the world supporting this. I don't understand how Christians affiliate themselves with it by voting. Look, I'm not saying you got to vote. You don't have to vote. You can't bring yourself Republican. Hey, to vote Republican. Hey, I get that. I totally get that. But you can't vote Democrat, right? You just can't vote Democrat. So, all right, abortion I think is pretty much covered. So let's talk about what it is that actually I think motivates people to vote Democrat. Well, first of all, the Democrats do a pretty good job of pretending that they care about people. They say they care about people, they care about families and the poor and the minorities. Um, you know, okay, I get being fooled by that. I do. I mean, they control all of the media pretty much, So, when there's the same message being said over and over again, I get that it can find itself home in your mind, and you can think that okay, yeah, this is a necessary evil with abortion, but they're helping a bunch of people that the Republicans aren't, because the Republicans are greedy and they're corporate, um, corporate ties and bought and paid for by the corporations and that sort of stuff. Um, Look, I'm not even going to argue and take the point that that's not true of the Republicans. The only thing I would say to that point is that the Democrats are guilty of that too. I just mentioned the fact that the media is completely for the Democrats. That's the biggest corporations in the world. Disney and Time Warner. These are the biggest corporations in the world. Are all supporting the left wing. So I still don't understand that aspect. And so, well, maybe they support the poor. Um, well, I think they justify supporting the poor, but they do it in such a way as they justify it by saying they're going to take from the rich, don't they? I mean, they just come out and say it, right? Now they do. Somebody has too much money, and they want to balance the scales, right? That can be appealing. I can understand how that could be appealing, but not to a Christian. At least not when you just sit and think about it just a little bit. I mean, it's one thing to say that you want to help the poor. That for sure is would tug on a Christian's heartstring. But the idea that you want to take money from somebody else to do it, I just ask you to go look in the Bible and find out anywhere where Jesus or anyone else petitioned Caesar to do charity work. You won't find it there. In fact, the Bible tends to indicate that it is the Christian's job to be charitable. That's one of the characteristics of being a Christian. So you're farming out a characteristic of yourself, something, a responsibility that you're supposed to be doing as a Christian to the government. Again, you see how this is the one area that I think Democrats have the possibility of wooing a Christian, and you see how easily it is to defeat this idea. And you say, well, they care about the minorities. Well, I just mentioned Margaret Sanger. I mean, you think all these people don't know this? There's quotes by people saying that they idolize this woman. Why would they idolize a woman who's a racist, right? Um, so this is, look, we're not dealing with some confusion here. Look, they control the narrative. Now, you think that the Democrats are for pro-minority, but first of all, Andrew Jackson started the Democrat Party. I was born in Jacksonville, that was named after him. He was an absolute racist. He was a racist against the natives. Go look up the Trail of Tears. He was racist against Africans. This guy was a racist. He started the party. The party fought to keep slaves enslaved. It was the Democrats on the side. The Democrats were the ones waving the rebel flag. It wasn't Republicans. Republicans were actually, I've got a Frederick Douglass shirt on. Republicans were started as an abolitionist movement. Um, so, you know, was there this party swap in the 50s or 60s? Come on, really? They just swapped. All the racists decided they were going to go join non-racist party, and the non-racist decided to go join the party that was known for being racist. Come on, guys, that's so dumb. That never happened. I mean, I might do a video on all the different things that it was, but it was basically just a PR deal. It was a PR deal the Democrats did. That's all. And again, they've been running the media for a long time now. So but see past the narrative. And as a Christian, look, you're supposed to be wary. You're supposed to have a heads up in understanding this stuff. The world deceives you. The world's not there to. You think the world's giving you accurate information? No, the world's not giving you accurate information. Why would you think all of this information is accurate? It doesn't make any sense. As a Christian, it doesn't make any sense. So again, they're not for the poor. And you think about the idea of the nature of charity anyway, right? How could that even be a government scenario? Everybody's cheated in that scenario. Somebody gets money stolen from them. Somebody who receives the money doesn't realize that it's coming who it's usually coming from. If you give to somebody, think about what that means. You give to somebody. You go and you hand them something, and like they see you eye to eye. There's some human connection there that you can't replace. The idea that I have something, I'm going to help you out because, you know, we're the same. I could be where you are. Maybe one day I'll be where you are. Maybe you'll be where I am one day, and you'll help me. It's this whole synergistic dynamic that happens humanly, and all that's interrupted with the government who steps in the middle of the way, and they take from somebody who never gives. Was never there to give, and you don't know that they weren't going to give anyway. The government steals it from them and then gives it. So the person who is taken from doesn't feel good. The person who gets it thinks they're owed it somehow through this program, and the government gets to sit back and go, "Look at me, I'm so charitable and I'm such a great guy," when they were the ones that stole. And so again, as a Christian, I don't know what's appealing about that. I don't know what is biblical about that. I really don't. Um, I guess I'm trying to think about where else I can go with this. There probably was some other things that I thought about earlier, but aren't coming to my mind. But I mean, I just really don't. I don't get it, and it's not as if, look. I mean, we all have our blind spots. We all have our blind spots. We don't know. And this could be a blind spot of mine, and that's the thing. And it's like I want to know, right? I mean, if I'm if I'm in error some way, then I want a Christian brother or sister to help me. Explain to me what I'm missing. I mean, I don't want to judge. I don't want to sit in judgment of anyone and say, I'm trying to empathize or sympathize and try to understand why it is that somebody would 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 think that way. And I'm not looking down on it. I'm trying to say, look, I can see how you could look at it positively, but only for a split second, because I don't because of the reasons I just gave. And so, again, I just want somebody to explain it to me. Explain to me what I'm missing. Explain to me what I'm not understanding. Because if I'm in error, I want your help. I want you to help me out. I want you to help me understand, because we don't need to be in conflict over anything unnecessarily. We can work together, right? And the same would apply to you. If what I'm saying rings true, then maybe you got to change. That seems to me to be the most logical way. And what's frustrating too sometimes is that, oftentimes the moral thing's flipped on me against other Christians. Christians will say, you don't care about black people if you don't vote Democrat, or which is crazy. They're the party of the KKK. I mean, I don't understand this. And and they're the ones fomenting riots and violence in the street. That's not, folks, that's not Holy Spirit fruit right there. So I don't know, Trump is bad. He says mean things. Folks, Jesus called people names. Okay? He called people names. You know, Trump wants to build a wall. The Bible has a book that's about building a wall. So, these are the ways I see comments that come at me from fellow Christians that ask how I can be where I am, right? And also, one of the things I notice is a lot of Christians who are on the left, and this is a good thing in this sense because there's so many non-Christians on the left that are cancel culture and they go after you and they just they character assassinate you and that sort of thing. And I'm glad that most Christians I'm familiar with that are on the left aren't like that. But I will say it's difficult when they don't want to discuss politics, but they want to vote things in that affect me. It's like you don't want to talk to me about it, but you want to vote things onto me. And I got a little bit of a problem with that. So, there it is. I don't know how you can vote Democrat if you're a Christian. And I need to understand, and I need help understanding. So if you've got some information, you've got some insight, I want to hear it. And if you agreed with the video, like, share, and till next time, appreciate it.